Yeah, no worries, mate.
Over to you, mate.
Yeah, my name's Rodger. I'm an addict. And you guys hear me all right? Yeah. Yeah, thanks for asking me to share, Chico. It's been, I can't remember the last time I was on this meeting. I think it was a while ago. I know I did a share when I was about 60 days and I was speaking at about 90 mile an hour. That was quite, I think that was a couple of years ago now. So I had a few nerves jumping back on you. I don't really do Zoom meetings anymore, I normally just do face-to-face meetings. And it's quite weird. First thing I see when I jumped on was a Zoom bomber and a load of dodgy porn. And I thought, yeah, this ain't changed too much. So yeah, it's quite funny, really. But yeah, I'm grateful to be on here. 15 months clean tomorrow, which is massive for me, absolutely massive. I mean, I never thought I'd get this stuff. It took me such a long time to really surrender to this and stick with it. Do you know what I mean? My head, he just wouldn't let me do this stuff. You know what I mean? Like this obsession just told me that I didn't need to do it. I always wanted recovery, but actually surrendering and choosing this as a way of life, I found it really, really difficult. But I'm grateful I did. And yeah, it's just weird. You know what I mean? I still sort of get goosebumps really waking up clean every day and the life I've got to now. And if I look back to when I first got come back into the rooms after a 5 year relapse, where I was, how my life was, how I ended up, do you know what I mean? And how broken it was to where I'm at today. The difference is massive. It really, really is, And yeah, four people that I know already this year we've already lost to this addiction. I found out about 20 minutes ago just of another one. Don't know if she died clean or not, but she's been on Facebook. But someone else I found out Saturday night was found overdosed in the car park last week. Literally got out of jail the week before. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, he ain't here, and it's just like that. And I got to mention that because that's kind of where my using would have taken me if I hadn't done this stuff. My head would have told me something completely different. If I woke up alive the next day, I'm all right, I'm sweet. If I still had a pair of shoelaces and a fiver in my bank account, I'm good to go. Do you know what I mean? But really, my life was falling apart the minute I first picked up, if I'm honest. I mean, it all started after school, having a few beers, down the park, and then smoking a bit of weed, and then, you just work your way through the drugs. But when I found pills, it really my life changed. Do you know what I mean? It really, really did. I went from being a very insecure, socially awkward, shy, uh, kind of terrified little kid to being somebody who was confident, had a massive group of mates, felt connected, had a really busy social life. It did everything I wanted it to do. You know what I mean? It really, really did. But the I don't know, the desire to feel like that all the time, or the obsession, call it what you want. But my primary purpose, even back then, wasn't to get good grades in school, get married, get a career, do A levels, all that kind of stuff. Save up, get a car, get a nice house. It wasn't. It was just to get money in and get completely annihilated at the weekend. Do you know what I mean? Whatever that looked like, whether that was in a pub, whether it was in a rave, whether it was at a party, that's all I wanted to do in my life. You know what I mean? And I didn't really, I weren't really thinking long term back then. You know what I mean? I was just kind of, in a way, I guess I was keeping it a day at a time. I really just looked forward to the weekend, and that was it. But there was a lot of heavy consequences for me. My mates used pretty much the same as what I did, but they hit a point where they're like, "Look, I'm going home now. I've got to go to work tomorrow." That weren't enough for me to go, no, I didn't have that off switch. Do you know what I mean? If I had to go to work on a Monday and I still had money left, or I still had some drugs left, I'd do the money, I'd do the drugs, I'd rock up to work at around Wednesday, and then they go, right, take your tools, fuck off. We don't want you back here. Then I'd get a resentment, then I'd use again, you know what I mean? And that pattern never really changed, you know what I mean? It really, really didn't. So there was a lot of consequences. It weren't like it was, I wouldn't say I was a functioning addict. I had kind of had two lives. I'd have the life where I've just smashed myself to bits and I need to sort myself out. I might have a good run at that for 2, 3 weeks. And then after 2 or 3 weeks, I've done all right. Then I'd reward myself by going out and getting on a bender, you know what I mean? And then I'd smash it all to pieces again. And my life was like that for 26 years. It never really got any better. In fact, it got worse. So yeah, consequence wise, talking 5 prison sentences. It took me 5 attempts to pass my driving test. Even as a kid, I turned up drunk on my driving test. You know what I mean? Thinking it was funny. But yeah, but it was weird because even back then I could sort of feel myself going down this path, and I knew I was making bad choices, right? But at that point, like if I went to jail or got out of jail or did something bad, you'd get rewarded for that behaviour. You get out of jail, people give you a line, they give you a pint, give you, oh, mate, you'd have a party. It weren't like I wore it like a badge of honour, to be honest, and but it was just irresponsible behaviour. Like I said, I didn't think I'd be doing it forever. But what really changed for me is around about my mid-20s. I think I just got out of prison for the third time. I just wrecked me van again, lost another business, lost another relationship, ended up back at my mum and dad's again. And I thought, I've got to sort this out. So I had this mad idea. I sold what was left of the van, went to Gran Canaria for the summer, just got absolutely smashed. But I met someone out there. She fell pregnant. She was an addict as well. So now I'm a dad, and I'm in my mid-20s. My mates are kind of left. They're all getting on with life. The drink and the drugs for them, they sort of left that behind, you know what I mean? And I was kind of in the Weatherspoons at 9 in the morning at this point, cash converters, you know what I mean? It weren't nightclubs and all that anymore. It was pretty much the cheapest alcohol, the cheapest cocaine, whatever, whatever substance, first thing in the morning, that's kind of where my life was at. But I had a little girl and I really wanted to do the dad thing, you know what I mean? I really, really did. And that's when I found that my using, it weren't like I was looking forward to going out on the weekend doing it. I was finding myself doing it when I didn't want to, because obviously me being an addict, her being an addict, we split up inevitably. She stopped me seeing my kid. And then I was pretty much isolating indoors, using, getting rid of feelings, you know what I mean? Stress, anger, self-righteous anger. How dare she stop me seeing my kid? All that kind of gear. So I needed to take a substance to help me sleep at night, and then and that's really how it was, So it's gone from going out down the pub, partying, clubs, raves, and all of that, to now using and drinking indoors. My life had really, it was starting to veer off, and I couldn't even see it. Do you know what I mean? And I think I was about 27. I went to my first meeting. It was an AA meeting. There weren't that much NA or CA about, or it was just AA really at that point where I lived. But I remember walking through the doors first time ever. I was 26 years old. I was absolutely terrified. And I looked around the room and I identified straight away, with the powerlessness and the one is too many and the thousand never enough. I heard that bit, but that's all I heard. And then I saw the God word and I thought, that's not really a bit of me. I saw these old people, beards, and they looked like alcoholics. And then I looked at myself and I thought, nah, I've got a few years left before I need to join this bunch of people. I've got nothing in common with them. All I need to do is knock it on the head. You know what I mean? Like I said, as long as I can stay away from the first one, that's all I need to do. So I walked away with that little bit of information, thinking that it'd hold me in good stead. And it worked. You know what I mean? It worked for about 3 or 4 days until my head told me, you're all right. You ain't that bad. You've done 4 days. You know what I mean? These people are saying you can never go near it again. You've got this obsession. You've just done 4 days, no obsession. It's been relatively easy. And then bang, I'll do it again, and that was always my pattern. I'll get a little bit well. Sometimes I get a week, I'll get 2 weeks or even 3 weeks. But sooner or later, it was like holding my breath. I couldn't do it forever. The obsession would kick in. It'd tell me to pick up. It'd tell me to do something crazy. And I'd do it, and that was it. I literally, at that point in my life, it was think, action. It wasn't like recovery now, it's think, pause, action. I just didn't have that pause, If I had a thought in my head, I'd have to act out on it. And it says, it says in the book, the disease, it centers in our mind. And that's what I think it is for me today. It's not really the drink and the drugs that are going to kill me. It's my thinking that's going to lead me to drinking, taking drugs, or doing whatever. Do you know what I mean? It don't have to be a substance. I can still act out doing other crazy shit, going on holiday, spending money I ain't got, overeating, going to, as long as it makes me feel good, look good, act good, sound good, and it makes my ego, fixes my ego, I'm on it like a rash, Like my sponsor was in a meeting and someone pretty much nailed it. If I can sniff it, snort it, spend it, fuck it, go on holiday with it, I'm all over it. Anything outside of that, I'm not really interested. Do you know what I mean? It's all about that for me. It's all that relatively superficial, external gear, because inside I'm broken. Do you know what I mean? I can't regulate my own emotions, and I need all that gear to show you guys that I'm okay. But without that stuff, I'm fucked. I didn't know any of this stuff. So I'm going to fast forward about another 15 years because not a lot happened. I just took a load more drugs, went to prison a load more times, lost a load more jobs, destroyed a whole, more relationships. Until during lockdown, the illness progressed even more. My mum had just died, back at me dad's again, lost my business. Like I said, I've literally got 2 black bags full of clothes. Well, I hadn't worked for about 5 years at this point. Kidney failure, liver failure, my lungs were shot to bits, it was over. Do you know what I mean? And I had no money coming in, and obviously lockdown started, right? So I remember I had this little voice in my head going, look, you've been trying to stop for 15 years and you've never managed to get clean. Maybe now's a good time to do it. You ain't got the money, you can't go to work, you can't get the money. Let's just knock it on the head, just do meetings. But then I had this other little voice going, well, hang on a minute, you can get money, you can go into a shop with a face mask on, you won't get caught, let's crack on. And that's what I did, you know what I mean? So there's me armed with a carrier bag and a face mask, running in and out of supermarkets like 4 or 5 times a day, just taking everything that went there down. Meat, washing up powder, washing up liquids, everything like that, and just selling it half price to feed me habit. You know what I mean? And I thought I was like some Robin Hood figure. You know what I mean? I really, really did. And it's complete delusional thinking. You know, there were moments right throughout lockdown that I was going, "What the fuck are you doing? You need to sort this out. You know, this is getting out of hand." But then 5 minutes later, the illness was on me going, look, come on, mate, let's go and do it again. You need another pipe or, you know, whatever. So I'd gone really from yeah, going out on a Friday night, you know, ironing shirts to fucking selling all my shirts, even sold the iron, you know, right? I'm fucking not a complete, proper street level junkie now. I weren't brushing my teeth, I weren't washing, psychosis, preeking for the letterbox, clothes that I hadn't changed for months. I had long hair, I had a massive beard, I was about that thin, I weren't eating, and I had no interest really in doing anything other than use. You know, I was living to use and used to live. And there's a bit in the basic text, and it says, the capacity to feel human was lost. You know, living skills have been reduced to the animal level, and I can completely relate to that because I weren't even everything that made me a human being. Every single part of my personality at that point had gone. You know what I mean? It was I was living with my dad, and I was just terrorising him every time he got his pension through. You know, I'd be like, oh, "Come on, Dad, just give us a tenner." I'm begging him for £10 at the age of 40, you know, and he was like, look, just fuck off. I've been, you know, been putting up with this since you were 16. I really go, he just lose the plot. He'd start screaming at me, he'd start shouting at me. And then at the end of it, I go, well, what about that tenner? Are you still going to give it to me or what? You know, and he was just relentless. Until I think, well, like this went on daily for about 2 years. You know what I mean? I was smoking crack every single day for 2 years. I was in a bad way by the end of it. And there were brief intervals where I'd jump on Zoom. I think I got like 3 weeks at one point, and then I'd go back out there again. But I reached out this time. He's on this meeting tonight, actually. I reached out to a guy called Sam, and I'll explain the situation. I was like, look, mate, it ain't working for me. I ain't going to get clean. You know, I've got 15 years of just picking up white key rings in the rooms. You know, I've been to all 3 different fellowships. It's just not working for me, mate. It ain't cut out for me. You know, I didn't know what to do. I just did not know what to do. And he just said, look, just jump back on a meeting, mate. You know, and I did, you know, and it was Zoom, really, initially. That's where my journey started. Didn't stay clean throughout all of it, but that's really when I surrendered. Do you know what I mean? The last time I used, I remember looking at myself in the mirror and something different. That the voice to tell me to use was still there, but there was another voice. And I believe for me, this is my higher power. You know what I mean? Because it's never ever spoken to me like that. It was just my whole life kind of flashed before me, like from being like 14, 15 years old up to being the age of 42, and like all the carnage, everything that I'd ever done. It was just there, right as rain. There was no delusional thinking. It was like this real moment of clarity, gift of desperation, call it what you want. And I've had many of them, like, you know, opportunities in the past, you know what I mean? And I kind of realise now that every single time I've had one of them opportunities, them little windows, little tiny minuscule moments of sanity, that's when I've got to jump into recovery, because 5 minutes later, the illness will take over, tell me I'm all right, and I'm back out the door again, you know. But for whatever reason, I was possessed. I rang up someone who was in the rooms, I jumped back on and started doing Zoom meetings, and that was it. You know, that was my life. Like I said, I couldn't even leave the house at this point. My chest was fucked. I couldn't walk. But what I could do is just do what you guys told me to do, and that was just doing meetings, getting numbers, getting connections, getting service commitments, doing a lot of prayer, doing a lot of meditation, and that was it. You know, and it was good. You know, I got 9 months off the back of that, but I hadn't gone through the steps, and my head was still very twisted up after 9 months. You know what I mean? I still had a lot of resentment, I had a lot of anger, I had a lot of expectations. I didn't have a lot of life skills, and being clean for me, I found it very uncomfortable. But I did realise why I like taking drinking drugs in the first place. You know what I mean? Because life without them is fucking painful. It really, really was. So I'd say then 9 months that I was clean, but I wouldn't say I was in recovery. Do you know what I mean? It was more like a trial run. you know. So anyway, I went back out the door again. 69 days later, I came back in, a little bit more broken, a little bit more willing, a little bit more open-minded. Got myself a sponsor, and we went through the book. And that's really, you know, that was the last time I used. That was what, 21st of November. Hang on. Yeah, 15 months ago or more. I can't remember the date. 21st of November, 2022, I think. Yeah. So, like I said, the step one, you know, the powerlessness. I mean, I know 26 years ago I was smashed to pieces. It wasn't exactly a revelation, but it was the step two stuff, believing that a power greater than me could restore me to sanity. And initially, you know, all that meant for me was something other than myself, you know, because like I said, I wanted to get clean for such a long time, but I believed that I'd be able to do it. You know what I mean? I could do it. You know, this was not part of that. You know what I mean? This is not what recovery looked like for me. So step two and step three for me really is just as much as I've got to, one, admit that I'm an addict and I'm powerless over my addiction, but also the second part of that surrender process is that I've got to accept this is the way of life. Do you know what I mean? This is my lot now. You guys are my family, whether I like it or not. I've tried it every other way. I'm going to give this a go. You know, this is where I belong. Whether I want to be or not is irrelevant, but I've got to put my all into this, you know, and that's what I did. And I started taking this like it was life or death. Because to be honest with you, at that point, it was, you know, I'd used for 26 years. I'd destroyed everything. I was poisoned, you know. I mean, I really, really was. And all I wanted to do was just get well, you know. And I'd seen so many people come into the rooms and get well and their lives were better. And I wanted a bit of that for myself, you know what I mean? I really, really did, you know. So like my sponsor, we're going through the work and it was a step forward really for me. That's where I let a lot of this stuff that I've been carrying around since I was a kid. You know, I started looking at it, I started dissecting it. I had a lot of childhood stuff going on. I blame my parents for how I was. My childhood weren't that great. I fucking hated my parents. I hated my life. I hated myself. Do you know what I mean? And once I started getting this stuff down on paper and actually having a look at it, I was like, fuck. You know, I walked into the step for being a victim and I walked out being a perpetrator, really. I've heard a few people say that. But what it also did is yeah, I had to start taking responsibility for some of my behaviours because I think my whole life I was very quick at getting the blame thrower out, blaming people, places, and things for my behaviours, playing the victim card or self pity. That was a big one, and just not taking responsibility. It says it in one of the readings, you know what I mean? That, you know, failure to take personal responsibility or whatever it says, but you know, you get what I'm on about. So that really helps, and then obviously off the back of that a list of defects, pretty much got every single one under the sun, depending on the circumstance. I can be whoever or however I want to be. So I'll just try and focus on the assets today. You know what I mean? I don't really beat myself up about bad behaviours. We've all got them. You know, I'm a human being. Of course, I'm going to fall short, but I do try and concentrate on the opposites, yeah, acknowledged. So say if I'm dishonest, I try and practice honesty. If I'm selfish, I try and be selfless. If I'm intolerant, I practice tolerance. Do you know what I mean? And that's really all my program is. It's good, really, because if I didn't have defects, I probably wouldn't need to work a program. I'd fucking be all right. You know what I mean? But it's with defects to keep me back in the game. Because every day I have to look at stuff, and you can always be a bit kinder, always be a bit friendlier, always be a bit more loving, a bit more tolerant, a bit more patient, a bit more understanding, a bit more forgiving. And that's the name of the game for me. You know what I mean? That is the spiritual side of my program. That's what I try and practice every single day. And it's, to be honest, it's weird because before I did the 12 steps, I didn't think I needed to do any of this shit. I thought I was all right. After I've done the 12 steps, I'm looking at myself going, fuck, I've got quite a lot to work on. This is after I put the drink and drugs down. Do you know what I mean? It's like this saucepan. I've just lifted the lid off, had a look inside. I've never seen inside before, and I get to see me. You know, there's a lot of shit there. There really was that needed clearing up. A hell of a lot of shit. So yeah, so that's it really. That was the spiritual side. The mental side for me is just getting honest. Do you know what I mean? I pray every night. I meditate. I do inventory. I'll be lying if I say I do it every day. I pick it up and I kind of go through fits with it. But that helps me keep me accountable. Do you know what I mean? And then I share that with another addict. I share that with my sponsor, and it keeps me on top of my game. Any behaviours that are coming out, you know what I mean? I've got a choice to address it. You know what I mean? And the difficult part of this program is I've still got the ability of choice, you know, and I can still make bad choices. I can still choose to not work this stuff all that well, or fucking, you know, I can still be selfish. I can still be self-centered. I can still pretend that I'm all right and you guys are wrong. You know what I mean? But it's inventory really, and staying tight to my sponsor and my support network and being open. You know, that's what keeps me accountable and just keeps me going. And yeah, and it works. So really, a lot of people say it living in 10, 11, and 12, and that's just checking myself every single day. I say my prayer in the morning. Thank you for keeping me clean, guide me through my recovery, and whatever I've got going on for the day. I pray a lot for other people as well. I find that gets me out of my own head. And then I say thanks at the end of the day, and I always check in with people as throughout the day. So I've gone from, 15 months ago, picking fag butts up off the floor, smoking crack, stealing meat out of supermarkets, pretty much on death's door, to now being back at work, completely debt free, made my amends, got a car, I'm going on holiday, been to conventions, I've got people back in my life, I do service, I'm on committees, we're setting up a camp out. I just got back from Dubai, I'm going to India again in a couple of months. Mate, my life's my own. Do you know what I mean? It's not like this is everything I ever wanted to do. All I ever wanted to do, really, if I'm honest, is just get out and go to work and just live like normal people. When I was, towards the end, I'd see other people living a normal life, and I was like, fucking hell, that's all I want, and I couldn't get it. And that's what I've got now. Do you know what I mean? I've got that freedom. I haven't got that head that tells me to self-sabotage or smash things to pieces. And the most beautiful thing about it is I can actually enjoy what I'm doing today. Like before, I had jobs before, but I couldn't enjoy them. Do you know what I mean? If I'm at work, I was either getting underpaid, the hours were too long, the boss was a prick, I fucking hated it. I could not enjoy it. If I had a bird, she was too fat, she was too skinny, she was too mouthy, she was doing my head in, whatever it was. I was just never happy, and my whole life was like that. I was always looking for the next best thing. And today, it's not like that. I've got quite a lot of gratitude. It's not to say that I'm not putting action into, make the right moves and get stuff in my life. But I don't have to move heaven and earth or fix, manage and control to try and create my own reality. I'm quite happy just getting up, putting the action in, leaving the results down to God and leaving the results down to my higher power. For the first time in my life, I'm actually content. Do you know what I mean? I'm the happiest I've ever been, calmest I've ever been, sleeping all right. Everything's all right, to be honest with you. It really, really is. Don't get me wrong, I can find faulty stuff if I start thinking about it too much, but that's obviously when I'll revert back to the program. Do you know what I mean? So if anyone's new and thinks that they can't get it, like I said, I had 15 years of white Cubans. I never thought I'd be here. I really, really didn't. But this stuff does work as long as you let it work. Do you know what I mean? Just let this stuff do the work for you. Just turn up, rock up and fucking, yeah, just do what it says. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Oh, nice one, Rog. I'll just let everybody on mute and show the appreciation, man.
Go on, Rog. We love
Thanks,
you.
Rodger.
Thanks,
Roger.
Roger.
Nice one, Rog.
Lovely message,
Nice one,
Roger.
Rog.
Thank you.
Cheers, Roger. Love you.
Cheers, Roger, mate.
Banana.
Cheers, Roger.